2 plays later, throw a touchdown.
Now, Matt, we are lucky to have College Press Box football analyst Lauren Barash in studio tonight. How are you doing tonight, Lauren?
I'm good. I'm happy to talk about a Longhorn win with you guys.
All right, sounds good. After the debacle against Notre Dame, Coach Strong relieved Sean Watson of the offensive play calling duties and gave the job to wide receivers coach Jay Norvell. Now that the first game is completed under Norvell, what do you think of his play calling and his offensive scheme?
Well, this was the first time Jay Norvell has been play calling since 2007, but I think he did a really nice job. I think this was the best coaching decision Charlie Strong has made in his time on the 40 acres. The offense has struggled since the day Sean Watson has arrived to Texas, and they desperately needed a change. Texas needed an offensive game like this, regardless of who the opponent was, and Norvell gave it to them. Norvell's familiarity with a hurry-up offense led to much smoother play calling. He was able to simplify the game plan, and get the ball in big offensive playmakers' hands. Under Norvell, the Horns did not have a turnover the entire game and also scored 40-plus points for only the second time in 15 games under Charlie Strong. Norvell's play designs highlighted what Hurd does best, which is running the football. He also didn't force Hurd to make any plays that were too challenging for him, which I think was key. I really liked the switch in play calling, and many of the Texas players have sung their praises for Norvell's coaching style and his attitude.
Great points, Lauren. Matt, would you like to add on to any of that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Norvell did a great job in this game, putting Hurd in situations to pass the ball when he needed to, but also let him run with those legs and open some things up. The only thing I have to say for Norvell going forward is they still need to work on how to get the other running backs going with Jonathan Gray and Donta Foreman going forward.
I completely agree with you, Matt. Now, Lauren, when the Texas offense took the field for the first time on Saturday, surprisingly, Hurd was the quarterback under center. How much of a difference did he make for the Longhorns at the quarterback position?
I think it's pretty safe to say that Jerrod Hurd became a fan favorite on Saturday. Hurd threw for 120 yards, had 2 beautiful touchdown passes, and also rushed for 96 yards. Hurd played with energy, speed, and a sense of confidence that Longhorns' QB position has been lacking for quite some time now. After big plays on offense, he was running down the field and congratulating his teammates. And then when he was on the sideline, he was trying to get the crowd pumped up, trying to get his team pumped up, really getting into the game. At the end of the day, he made big plays when Texas needed them, and that's what a college quarterback needs to do. There are definitely some improvements that I think need to be made, but I'm really excited to see what Hurd can bring to this team for the rest of the season, and I think it's clear that he's the QB solution.
Great points, Lauren. What did you think of Hurd's performance on Saturday, Matt?
Yeah, overall, there were some stumbling points for Hurd in that game, but at the end of the day for him, he did a fantastic job running the offense and creating, what Texas fans and this university has been missing for some time. I think going forward with him, he can definitely open up the passing game a little bit more, try to test that arm strength a little bit, but overall, nicely done by Hurd.
Yeah, overall, I thought he did a pretty good job, too. Would have liked to see him throw more than 7 passes, but overall, I'd have to say he did a pretty good job. And this is what Coach Strong had to say on Hurd's performance.
I think sometimes with some guys, when the lights come on, it's like they even take a step up, which he does. Like, it's almost like, okay, the lights are brighter, so I'm going to go shine and watch it. Everybody's going to watch me shine.
Now, guys, the Rice game brought a lot of changes and big improvements for the Longhorns. Who, in your opinion, had the best performances on Saturday? We'll start with you, Lauren.
There were a lot of improvements that I saw on Saturday, which was great for the Horns. Let's start with DJ Johnson, who was named Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week this morning. Johnson had an impressive 85-yard punt return for a touchdown in the first quarter. His other teammate on special teams, Duke Thomas, followed that play with a 56-yard return to set up another Texas score. So big improvements overall for special teams from last season for sure. Additionally, I think the biggest story from Saturday was the impressive freshman performances. Wide receiver John Burt's first 2 career catches combined for 117 yards, which included a 69-yard touchdown reception from Jerrod Hurd, who, of course, as we talked about earlier, was another impressive redshirt freshman player. And then my personal favorite would have to be Malik Jefferson. Sure, he had missed some key tackles, but for a true freshman, I think Jefferson has played incredibly in his first 2 starts. The linebacker finished the game with 9 tackles, a sack, and a 26-yard fumble recovery for his first career touchdown. I just love the attitude he brings to this team. He may be a freshman, but you see him communicating and leading the defense on the field the entire game. He is the presence that Texas needed after the loss of players like Jordan Hicks and Malcolm Brown. I'm really excited to see how these freshmen and special teams continue to perform for the rest of the season.
Malik Jefferson, John Burt, they all had impressive games, but for you, Matt, who was the person who stood out for you the most?
No, those two definitely stood out. And I think Gerard Hurd, we've mentioned him before, but for me, he was very impressive because we've heard about all the potential he has, but yet he's been now in the system. He is a redshirt freshman, so he's been in the system now 2 years. And there were a lot of concerns about, is he ready to take this job away from Tyrone Swoops? And seeing him on Saturday, he showed that he may be one of these players that doesn't perform well in practice, but when you get the lights on him, he's going to perform big. So definitely Gerard Hurd, and for sure Malik Jefferson, because he is the leader of that defense right now.
I completely agree with you, Matt, but while the bright lights were on at DKR, Texas was actually outgained in yards by Rice, 462 to 277, and despite forcing 5 turnovers, the Longhorns only won by 14 points. There's still a lot of work to be done. So, Lauren, what do you think is the biggest area for Texas to improve in?
I completely agree. I think possession time was a huge issue for Texas this past weekend. The Owls had the ball for roughly 45 minutes out of the 60-minute total game. Despite the score at the end of the game, the Horns struggled to get off the field on 3rd down. Rice converted 14 of 21 third downs, which Texas cannot allow if they want to beat some of the more challenging teams that are coming up on their schedule. Another big issue was Texas punter Michael Dixon, who continues to struggle. After 2 28-yard punts last week in South Bend, he kicked a dismal 17-yarder that would have given Rice points late in the first half, but luckily Dylan Haynes had that interception in the red zone for the Horns. To me, those are 2 of the biggest things that need improvements as Texas moves along.
Coach Strong thinks that they need to focus on ball control next week against Cal.
It's always, when you run the football, you can control it and you can be ball control, but you have to be able to run the ball, and that's what we got to focus on. And the thing about Cal is their defense has improved, but they've given up a lot of points on defense, and so what we need to do is we do need to control that ball and just make sure. I know it's a spread offense, but we got to play better on defense too. We got to give our offense some opportunities. You think about the 37 snaps. We get off the field on 3rd down, then we're going to give them more opportunities to go take the ball also.
Lauren, great analysis as always. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me.
When we come back, we'll kick it to Mike A. Myers Stadium to talk some soccer. Don't go anywhere. This is